What if a single Lincoln penny sitting in your pocket could be worth more than a brand new car or even a house? Most people spend these coins without a second thought, but hidden among ordinary change are rare Lincoln pennies struck by mistake, produced in tiny numbers, or tied to historic moments. From a penny that should have been steel but turned out copper, two coins with doubled letters you can spot with the naked eye. These small pieces of metal have sold for thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. The real question is, have you already held one and never knew it? Imagine holding in your hand a small copper-colored coin minted in 2015, a year that seemed ordinary to most people, but for collectors opened a brand new chapter in the evolving story of the Lincoln cent. And today we are going deep into a world where tiny design elements, hidden minting decisions, backstage struggles at the United States Mint, and production details you never hear about all collide to create the full story of the 2015 Lincoln penny, a coin that millions of Americans used every single day without ever realizing the incredible history behind it. And in this video we unravel every thread of its creation, from the origins of the Lincoln cent in 1909 to the modern zinc-based penny still carrying Abraham Lincoln's portrait more than a century later, and we explore how the 2015 version fits into the long line of changes, challenges, controversies, and innovations that shaped one of the most iconic coins in America. Starting with why the Mint continued producing the penny, even when economists called it obsolete, and why 2015 became a key year in understanding the modern life of the Lincoln cent, because the story of this coin goes far beyond its face value. It is a window into American economics, metal markets, minting, technology, and national identity. And to understand the 2015 penny, we first need to trace how the Lincoln cent became what it is today, beginning in 1909. When the United States Mint released the very first coin in circulation to feature a real, historical person and not just a symbolic figure, a bold decision for its time, driven by the upcoming centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth and designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials sparked controversy when the Mint removed the VDB from the reverse shortly after release. And that moment in 1909 kicked off more than a century of evolution for the penny, from bronze to steel during wartime, then back to bronze, and finally to the zinc-based structure introduced in 1982, which still defines the Lincoln penny today, including the 2015 version. And by the time we reach the 21st century, the Lincoln cent had already survived debates about discontinuing it, rising production costs, and economic arguments questioning its usefulness. Yet the Mint continued striking billions every year, including the massive runs of 2015, because small change still plays a role in commerce, public demand remains strong, and the penny is deeply rooted in American culture and superstition. And as we step into the details of the 2015 penny, we enter the era of the shield reverse design, introduced in 2010 after the one-year run of the 2009 bicentennial designs, with the shield symbolizing federal unity and referencing the Union shield carried during the Civil War, connecting directly to Lincoln's legacy. And the 2015 penny carries this symbolism proudly on its reverse, with the great Union shield supporting the inscription 1 cent, and the banner across its field holding the motto E Pluribus Unum, while on the obverse we still see the modern rendition of Lincoln's bust, first sculpted by Brenner, but updated over the decades to refine the relief details while preserving the classic profile. And when we examine the minting process behind the 2015 penny, we see how advances in technology like laser-engraved dies, digital sculpting, and refined copper plating techniques allowed the Mint to maintain consistency. Even when producing more than 8 billion pennies in a single year, each of those coins, no matter how small, follows a long chain of production, beginning with the zinc blanks manufactured to exacting tolerances, then coated with thin layers of copper to achieve the iconic red tone, and finally struck under immense pressure that imprints the famous portrait on one side and the Union shield on the other. And in 2015, both the Philadelphia and Denver Mints were heavily involved in producing these coins, while the San Francisco Mint focused mainly on proof versions. offering sharply detailed mirror-like strikes for collectors, and the differences between business strike pennies and proof coins gives us another layer of history to explore. Because proof coins are not meant for circulation, but serve as premium collector pieces meticulously polished and struck multiple times, creating a beautiful crisp finish that highlights every line of Lincoln's portrait and the shield design. And these proof pennies from 2015 tell a story of craftsmanship and tradition, preserved even as the mint continues evolving technologically. And while many people think all modern pennies are identical, collectors know that each year brings subtle variations. Die characteristics, mint mark positioning, plankett quality, and even small errors that can transform an ordinary coin into a treasure. And the 2015 penny is no exception, because error collectors have documented examples of off-center strikes, die cracks, plating bubbles, and misaligned dies. And these specimens, though rare compared to the billions of normal coins, give the 2015 penny a special place in the modern error collecting community. And when we zoom out again to look at the broader economic context of 2015, we see the cost of producing a penny continuing to exceed its face value, meaning the government spent more than 1 cent to make every 1 cent coin, and this sparked renewed debate about discontinuing the penny altogether. But despite this economic pressure, the public continued to support keeping the coin, and Congress kept the penny in production. And 2015 became another chapter in this ongoing discussion, showing how tradition, sentiment, and national identity can outweigh pure economic calculations. And now we travel further into the deeper layers of the coin's symbolism, the reason Abraham Lincoln remains on this denomination, the connection between his leadership during the nation's most turbulent years and the penny, which is the first coin that many children encounter, teaching them the basics of money and savings and reinforcing Lincoln's role in American memory. And when we analyze the design elements of the 2015 penny, the sculpted hair details on Lincoln's portrait, the curvature of the shoulder, the placement of the date and mint marks, and the precise layout of the shield on the reverse, we see how modern engravers preserved Brenner's original inspiration while updating the style for 21st century aesthetics. And this blending of past and present makes the 2015 penny a fascinating subject for collectors, historians, and everyday Americans, because it captures more than 100 years of design tradition in a coin that weighs only 2.5 grams and is often overlooked in daily life. And yet the story of the penny is also a story of American industry, metal supply chains, technological innovation, and economic resilience, as the mint continually adapted to changing market prices and public expectations. And 2015 stands as a representative year in this modern era where the penny remains both a practical object and a cultural symbol. And in exploring this coin, we discover how each minted year, including 2015, becomes a snapshot of American history, reflecting economic conditions, political debates, technological progress, and ongoing national conversations about the future of small currency. And as we continue unfolding the story of the 2015 Lincoln penny, we see how even the smallest coin has a powerful legacy, bridging past and present, linking the Lincoln Memorial era that lasted from 1959 to 2008 with the new shield reverse era, and representing how American coinage evolves with time without losing its origins. And the 2015 penny therefore becomes more than a piece of metal. It becomes a living archive of American history, everyday life, national symbolism, and evolving minting practices. And this script can continue expanding into specific chapters on plankett preparation, die engraving, coin distribution, error varieties, collector impact, mint statistics, and the rising cost controversy, allowing your full 2-hour video to explore each of these subjects in depth while delivering a rich, captivating narrative that keeps viewers engaged from introduction to conclusion. Imagine holding a tiny piece of metal that silently witnessed the countdown to a new millennium, a coin struck in the last year of the 20th century. A coin that millions of people pass by every day without realizing the incredible story carries. The 1999 Lincoln penny is more than copper-plated zinc, more than a common cent, and far more than a simple piece of pocket change. It is the final whisper of an era the closing chapter of a century that redefined America, the end of a 100-year journey shaped by wars, innovation, technology, cultural revolutions, and the rise of a global superpower. And this little coin, minted by the millions, became a time capsule of that moment in history. And today we dive deep into its world, uncovering its creation, its purpose, its hidden varieties, its production secrets, and the legacy it holds in the vast universe of American numismatics. As we step back into the story of the 1999 Lincoln cent, we must first understand what the Lincoln penny represented. By the time this year arrived, since its debut in 1909, the Lincoln cent had served as a tribute to Abraham Lincoln, becoming the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical person. The design, crafted by Victor David Brenner, stood as a symbol of national unity and respect, and through decades of American evolution, the Lincoln penny changed subtly, but carried the same powerful portrait that millions of citizens recognized as the face of honesty, leadership, and endurance. And by the late 1990s, the coin had become an iconic piece of the American identity, used daily by nearly every household and found in pockets, jars, car cuffholders, and cash registers across the nation. We enter 1999, a year electrified with anticipation and uncertainty. The world was preparing for Y2K fears. Computers were predicted by some to malfunction on New Year's Eve. Debates raged about what the new millennium would bring. Optimism, blended with anxiety, technology was exploding with new innovations. The internet was transforming how people connected and communicated. Music, fashion, and culture were evolving at lightning speed, and American society stood at the crossroads of an old century and a new digital frontier. In this vibrant atmosphere, the United States Mint continued its mission of producing billions of circulating coins for commerce, carrying forward its century-long tradition of precision and craftsmanship. 1999 Lincoln penny was minted at two primary locations: the Philadelphia Mint, which produced coins without a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which carried the D-mint mark on the obverse. Each mint used advanced coining technology, but the core design remained faithful to long-standing tradition, featuring Lincoln on the obverse facing right with a calm, stoic, and reflective gaze symbolizing continuous American progress, and on the reverse the classic Lincoln Memorial design crafted by Frank Gasparo, which had been used since 1959, showing the grand neoclassical structure that honored the 16th president. And if you looked closely, you could even see the faint representation of the statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a detail that always fascinated collectors. Through to 1999, billions of Lincoln cents flowed from massive presses, stamping copper-plated zinc blanks with precision. Each blank was composed of 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper, giving the coin its iconic reddish tone, but also marking it as part of the post-1980 to composition era. This change from bronze to copper-plated zinc had helped the mint cut production costs and keep pace with fluctuating metal prices, and by 1999 the mint had mastered this composition, creating coins with smooth, consistent surfaces and a bright, uniform shine when freshly struck. In the process of this enormous production, however, something else began to emerge: subtle varieties, interesting strikes, and minting anomalies that would later attract the keen eyes of coin collectors. Some 1999 pennies displayed minor misalignments, die cracks, or plating bubbles, small imperfections created as the dies aged or the metal reacted to pressure, and though the majority of these variations were not rare, they formed an important part of the story, showing how a massive industrial system still created pieces with individual character and personality. Another important aspect in the history of the 1999 penny involves its position within the timeline of the Lincoln Memorial reverse design. This reverse, which had been used since 1959, was approaching the end of its 50-year career just 10 years later. In 2009, the Mint would introduce a new reverse to celebrate the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth, and then transition to the Union Shield reverse in 2010. And when we look back from that perspective, the 1999 penny becomes part of the final generation of Lincoln Memorial coins, a member of the closing chapters of a long artistic era in American coinage. Collectors today view the 1999 penny through a unique lens because it is both very modern and historically significant, it belongs to a decade where coins were mass-produced in huge numbers, yet it also stands on the threshold of a monumental change. It is common in circulation, yet special in its timing. It is familiar, yet meaningful. And this contrast has made the 1999 penny a coin often used to teach the importance of transitional years in numismatics. Condition of the coin plays a huge role in its collectability. Well-preserved examples with brilliant luster, fully struck details, clean surfaces, and sharp edges can draw attention of professional graders and hobbyists alike, especially those in mint state 67 or higher, which represent the best of the best from each mint. These coins reflect the precision of the minting process, demonstrating smooth fields, clear lettering, defined hair strands on Lincoln's portrait, and crisp structural lines on the Lincoln Memorial itself. And for collectors who search rolls and bags of circulated coins, finding such a gem can be a thrilling experience, a reminder that treasures still live in everyday change. Beyond condition, the historical context adds even more weight to the 1999 cent story. This was the final year before the U.S. Mint began the 50 state quarters program, one of the largest and most influential coin programs in American history. And during this time, national interest in coins suddenly spiked. Millions of people began saving state quarters, and this wave of excitement indirectly renewed curiosity about other circulating coins, including the Lincoln cent. The 1999 penny therefore stands at the door of this new era and is often collected alongside early state quarters to represent the last standard year before the explosion of public enthusiasm for coin collecting swept the country. To truly appreciate the importance of the 1999 Lincoln cent, we should step deeper into the historical forces shaping America. At the end of the 1990s, innovators were racing to push the boundaries of digital technology. Mobile phones were evolving, home computers were becoming common, and the internet was connecting millions of people in ways previously unimaginable. And as technology surged forward, the mint who adopted increasingly advanced equipment, improved die-making processes, refined quality control enhancements, and digital engraving tools. And these innovations contributed to the sharpness, consistency, and clean design of coins produced in 1999. Another layer of meaning comes from the coin's symbolic ties to Lincoln himself. The 16th president stood as a guiding figure during America's most difficult internal crisis, the Civil War, and his legacy remained a source of national unity, wisdom, and hope during the uncertainties of the late 1990s. With dramatic global changes unfolding, American influence expanding, and the world preparing for the next century, many people saw Lincoln as a timeless figure whose leadership could be looked upon as a reminder of stability and integrity. And his portrait on the penny continued to embody those values. Even as America entered a period of rapid modernization, cults today value the story of the 1999 penny not because it is rare, but because it represents a moment that blended tradition and transformation, minting heritage and new century anticipation. And for viewers of this documentary, the journey through the coin's creation, its composition, its design, its varieties, its cultural context, and its deeper symbolism reveals why a simple 1-cent piece carries a story far larger than its size, and why even the most common coin can become a priceless piece of history when we understand the world that shaped it, from the rumble of the minting presses to the careful engravings that defined its features, from the massive distribution networks that delivered it into daily circulation to the millions of hands it passed through. The 1999 Lincoln penny lived a busy life, traveling across grocery stores, schools, workplaces, gas stations, and family homes, becoming part of the fabric of everyday American life. And even today, when found in a drawer, a coin jar, or a freshly opened roll, it continues to reflect the story of its time, the end of a century, the transition to a new millennium, and the continuation of a legacy more than 100 years in the making. 1999 penny is a storyteller, and its tale is far from over as long as collectors, historians, and everyday people continue to examine these coins. The legacy of this tiny piece of metal will remain alive, reminding us that history is not always locked in museums. Sometimes it rests quietly in our pockets, waiting for someone curious enough to see the world etched into its surface. Imagine holding a small copper-colored coin in your hand, a coin so common that millions of people walk past it every single day without realizing that within its tiny frame lies a hidden story of American history, craftsmanship, national identity, and a mystery that has intrigued collectors for decades. And this is the journey we are about to take with the 1984 Lincoln penny, a coin born in a time when America was reshaping its economy, facing new technological frontiers, and redefining the role of the mint itself. As the country moved deeper into the 1980s, the United States Mint was operating under intense pressure and shifting priorities, and every minor adjustment in production, every redesign, every change in metal composition told a deeper story about the nation's values and challenges. The 1984 Lincoln penny stands closely tied to this era because it arrived only a short time after one of the biggest transformations in penny history: the switch from the traditional bronze alloy to the new copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982, and by 1984 the mint was still perfecting the process, dealing with the unexpected issues the new metal brought, and experimenting with solutions that would define the quality and durability of Lincoln cents for years to come. And while millions of these coins were struck across the Philadelphia and Denver mints, one particular discovery would ignite the attention of collectors everywhere: the famous 1984 double-ear variety, a striking mint error that revealed how the pressure of mass production combined with new technological demands allowed remarkable and accidental creations to slip through undetected, turning an everyday penny into one of the most recognizable and sought-after modern mint varieties. But to understand the full story, we must travel back to the origins of the Lincoln cent, created in 1909 to mark the centennial of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, a time when America wanted a coin that expressed respect, unity, and a shift toward more artistic coinage. And as decades passed, each year of the penny's production mirrored the nation's evolution from world wars to economic booms to cultural change, and how by 1984 the nation's oldest continuously circulating coin carried both historical weight and modern challenges. And every element of the 1984 penny, from the copper-plated zinc core to the crisp portrait of Lincoln to the subtle engraver's marks, carries meaning born from years of innovation, mistakes, triumphs, and political decisions. This coin becomes more than a small piece of metal. It becomes a snapshot of America in the 1980s, a time of technological advancement, growing global influence, and intensified efficiency within the mint. Now imagine the massive production floors where billions of coins were struck, the rhythmic pounding of presses, the constant evaluation of blanks and plankets, the critical struggle to maintain quality while balancing new cost-saving measures. And then imagine how in this precise environment a few coins rolled out with that distinctive doubled ear, making them pieces of numismatic legend and the kind of treasure that collectors dream about. And by the time you finish exploring the full history of the 1984 Lincoln penny, the economic backdrop, the minting process, challenges, the famous doubled ear variety, the role of the mint, the global copper crisis of earlier years, and its long-term effects, you will understand that this tiny coin is in fact a powerful storyteller of American industry and identity, a piece that teaches us that even the smallest items in everyday life may hold vast and captivating histories. And today we begin unfolding that entire story, from the first spark of its creation to every moment that shaped its existence and influenced its value in the world of collectors.